Hi there, and thank you for tuning in. So Josh sent me a really good question the other day, and the question was, if of all the cameras that I have owned, and I will list them here to my right, your left, of all the cameras that I've owned, are there any of them where I would say they've had a poor image quality? So the question is not whether some of the cameras are better than others. The question is, if you just look at the sort of the worst camera of those that I have owned, would I say that camera had a poor image quality? And just to make a long story short, the answer is no. I think actually all of these cameras have had really good image quality. And again, I just want to underline before you throw tomatoes at me or whatever you feel like when you hear me saying this, it's not so that there isn't a difference between these cameras, because let me just give some examples. If I was to shoot something very colorful where the colors would be extremely important, I will always pick my Nikon D4, because I know it's not famous for that, but for me, I just love the colors that camera produces. If I was to shoot some products, do a product shoot, I would grab my Nikon D750 because it's just very easy to work with that camera. It's super consistent, and it's just a pleasure to work with that camera. If I was to shoot something in black and white, maybe you've seen other of my videos where I've done client work in black and white, I would always grab the Nikon D700. A fantastic camera with fantastic image quality. A little bit more artistic, maybe. Is that the word? It has a little bit more, often the pictures look like paintings. So definitely all of these cameras have different characteristics, different strengths and weaknesses. I'm not saying that there's no difference. I'm just saying that the entry level or the bottom level of the cameras that I have owned, when you talk specifically image quality, we're not debating autofocus system or ergonomics or weight and size or price or anything, just image quality, because that was Josh's question I'm trying to answer here. I would say that they all of them have really done well. And I think it's because the technology for image sensors and also the image quality is there's still several steps that goes into that. One is of course the sensor, but then there's also all the hardware and software that does the processing. You can see the post-processing, but within the camera before it hits your memory card, right? So all of that in combination determines your image quality. But I think that technology is not there. We have seen the biggest step forward in the recent years. The recent year has, other than the mirrorless revolution, if I can call it like that, or at least development, I think we've seen development mainly related to autofocus, to the intelligence around the autofocus, especially with mirrorless, they can do eye recognition and so on. And the other big thing where I think things have really moved forward the recent year is in video capability, 4K, 8K, 60 frames per second. You know all of this, right? So the core technology around the sensor, I don't think that has developed. Of course it has developed, I'm not saying that, but it hasn't taken these major jumps forward that you have seen in the other areas that I mentioned. So what is my criteria for saying image quality is good? Well, basically it's not very scientific. If you want really to be scientific about image quality, you should head over to DxOMark and see their scores. I just saw that the Nikon Z7 Mark II got a score of 100, just like the Nikon D850. So those cameras, they are right at the top of the DxOMark score. And if you list just the cameras in priority of the DxOMark score, you will see that it doesn't drop that much. I mean, even if you go 10, 12 years back, it drops down to some 90, 92, 93, thereabout points that the good cameras get. And even some of like the Nikon D5600, I can't recall exactly what it got, but it was in the late 80s. So again, I think it supports my line of argumentation that even entry-level cameras, when it comes to image quality, has a really high level. So what is my criteria for image quality if we put DxOMark aside? That is basically when I open the picture in Lightroom, am I happy with what I see, or am I disappointed? And of course, this is super subjective, but I can only, with all these cameras, I can only think of one situation where I was really disappointed, and that was with the Nikon D5600 in a super specific situation where I had put a long lens in front of it. I've happily forgotten what it was, which lens it was, and I tried to do some wildlife photography, and the images there were very grainy, and I think it was because the camera cranked up the ISO because it wasn't a very fast lens that I put in front of it. So I don't think that counts as a fair observation. But I just wanted to mention this because sometimes I do get disappointed when I open my images in Lightroom, and therefore I know exactly what it is I'm looking for in Lightroom in terms of image quality. But 99.9% of the times I'm actually a happy camper and really like what I see. So have I never been disappointed with image quality? Yes, I actually have. And this is not to you can say, shoot at DJI. I just want to mention this as a reference point. This is the Mavic Mini, the one that just gets below 250 grams. And the images this one produces, I am generally disappointed, I must say. I think the images are color-wise and contrast-wise are very flat. That's the best way I can describe it. And today I would say that I would have wished I had invested in a little bit more expensive drone than this one. Yeah, that's just a lesson learned. The good thing about this one though is that price, performance-wise, is a fantastic drone. It flies really well. It's easy to fly. Many things work really well, and the image quality is, I mean, it's workable and it's usable. I just can't really hide the fact that I was somewhat disappointed when I saw the image quality coming out of the Mavic Mini here. So just to say that even though I am a happy camper, and you could get the impression, yeah, but that guy, he's just happy with every camera he's had. I'm not happy with the camera that sits in that drone, I must say. So just to give you a feel for where I'm coming from. So I hope this answered your question, Josh. And I just want to again underline, it's not because there isn't a difference between the cameras. I just think that maybe the smallest difference between the cameras is actually the image quality. I know some of you will be throwing Rotten Tomatoes at me saying, yeah, but the D700 is an amazing camera, or the D4 is an amazing camera, or the D750 is the wedding photographer's workhorse or whatever. But I think there are much, much bigger differences when it comes to the autofocus system, the size and the weight of the camera, ergonomics, the look and the feel, haptics, whatnot. I actually dumped, even though the image quality was quite good on the Fujifilm X-T3, I decided to sell that camera for the simple reason that ergonomics and haptics wise, I couldn't sort of get myself to like that camera. And for that reason, I sold it and traded it in for the Nikon Z50 that I hold here, where I find the ergonomics is absolutely stellar. And had you told me 3 years ago that I would be sitting here on a video defending the point of view that ergonomics maybe is even more important than image quality, I wouldn't have believed you. But today I will say I think that because the image quality is at such a high level, the other things actually becomes more and more important to me. How does the autofocus system work when I have to catch a bird in flight? What's the ergonomics like if I have to carry the camera all day long? Battery life, all of these things become increasingly important because the image quality, there are less differences. So I hope this was useful. As always, thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.